Hey guys, I'm Becky from Book Bite Reviews, and welcome to my How to Experience Death for Beginners reading vlog. Now, I read this book during my week-long reading vlog that I just posted this previous week, and I felt like this book I talked about majority of that vlog. My vlog with this footage in it turned out to be over an hour, and so I decided that since the bulk of that video was talking about this book, that I should just cut it out completely and make it its own vlog. So that is what I have just decided to do. So without further ado, here is all the footage of how I felt about this book, why it made me so angry, why I DNF'd it. Let's go ahead and just get started. So today it is currently Tuesday, February 5th. So the very first one that I am going to be focusing on this week is How to Experience Death for Beginners by Jessica Branton. Now, this one you may know was on my December TBR, on my January TBR, and now it is on my February TBR. This is the last month that I'm giving this book a chance. So this week, this is my main priority, is to really dive into this book, really give it a chance, and if I don't end up liking it, this is it. I'm not going to set it aside and then try again next month. And I will be reading the ebook version on my Kindle. Hey guys, so it is Friday night. Ignore my crazy hair. I've been laying on the couch reading, and it is official. I am DNFing How to Experience Death for Beginners. It has taken a turn for the worse. It has just gotten worse and worse. The serial killings have started to happen, but they are not, I feel like they're not the main point. And our character is just acting, I don't know. Okay, so sorry about that. I just feel like this is going to take a lot longer, and then my arm's going to get tired and it's going to be super shaky. So, like I was saying, the serial killings have started, but the way that our character is reacting to them is 1 minute she cares because somebody important to her dies, but then the next minute the next death isn't even mentioned to us really. It's mentioned in passing. It's okay, when did that happen? But what has officially made me DNF it, and this isn't a editing issue or anything, this is just honestly poor writing pretty much and poor character development. They are just acting more and more dramatic and way younger than 17 years old. These kids are about to graduate and go to college, and they're acting like they're 14 years old. I'm not gonna like these characters, the way that they behave, and I'm not gonna agree that this is a older, mature YA. I am only 35% into this book, but I cannot anymore. It's gotten to a point that has basically triggered my rage when it comes to this stuff, and I just can't read any more of this. I am so done with this book. These characters are just very one-dimensional. They are very juvenile, and I feel like our author didn't do her due diligence when researching these different mental health and physical health issues that she's bringing up in this book. I can't anymore with this book. I was so excited when this book was put on Edelweiss. I was so excited to get it. But what it has ended up being, I'm so very disappointed with. It is just so bad. It's so bad, and I'm so upset. So on to lighter and better things that will hopefully make up for this night, because I'm just so mad right now. I have decided to go ahead and pick up another book. I'm picking this because this is the smallest one of all the books that I have on my TBR. And we're going to go back downstairs on the couch, and we're going to hopefully read this and enjoy this, because I need something that I will actually enjoy. After that book, I'm just so nervous about the rest of my TBR now, because it has just put me in such a bad mood. So I'm gonna go downstairs and read this now. Hey guys, it is Sunday night. It's currently 10:30 at night. I did not update you yesterday. As you know, on Friday, I did end up DNFing my ebook copy of How to Experience Death for Beginners. It upset me a lot. Since then, I have reflected some more. I've read some other reviews to see what other people were thinking. Thankfully, I was not the only one thinking the exact same things, but I think I'm going to save and talk about all of my feelings and what I have found out about this ebook tomorrow during my wrap up. So we'll just hold off on this and I will explain everything to you tomorrow. I don't want to get upset all over again. Hey guys, so it is currently Monday morning. It is February 11th and it's about 11 a.m. So let's go ahead and just talk about the book that I DNF'd. Let's go. I'm holding up my Kindle because I read it as an ebook. I like holding things up when talking about them. So this is what we're going to do. I have a lot of things to say, so I feel like it's better if I hold something in my hand for this. So the book that I DNF'd this week was How to Experience Death for Beginners by Jessica Branton. Now, I did touch on this when I first decided to DNF it, but I wanted to kind of divulge all of my feelings about this and kind of give you guys like the whole picture of like why I DNF'd this and why I'm having problems with this book, things that I have now found out and have now led me down another path of not really liking what's going on here. Let's talk about it. So, How to Experience Death for Beginners. You guys know that I was very, very excited when I received this book for review from Edelweiss. I was very excited when I was given the ARC. Now, keep that in mind. I do have an advanced reader copy. That is why this book is getting 2 stars and not 1 star, because there is still a chance. I don't think this book has come out yet. I don't think it's been published just yet. I think it's still in its pre-publishing era, but I do have an advanced reader copy. There is a chance that these things could be fixed. I'm kind of doubting it now that I've learned what I've learned, but I'm still gonna just give it 2 stars because some of the things that weren't problematic but I had issues with, like for example, there are some things in this book that don't make sense as far as like our characters talk about an argument that they had when we've never had an argument. When did that happen? So there is some cleaning up to do, so I'm just justifying that as it's an arc that's going to be fixed, I hope. So I'm keeping that with a grain of salt and going to give it 2 out of 5 stars instead of the 1 that I feel it kind of deserves. But yes, I personally read a lot of arcs. I have a lot of arcs. I understand that these are the pre-final edit copies. I can appreciate that, which means I let a lot of things go. But this book has brought up some things that honestly, the publishers should have never even sent it out like this. The things I've learned now, I'm kind of upset about. So let's go ahead and just dive in. This book does have quite a few representations of mental illness, and we do have one so far just because I'm only like 30% in. I'm not going any farther. And I've only met one character who is, I believe he's bisexual. And I was really excited for that. But I did have a problem with his representation. I felt like it was a little stereotypical. I just didn't feel like it was super genuine. And it almost kind of felt like a token character, honestly. I just wasn't in love with that sort of representation. What made me stop reading this was the mental health representation. So we do have quite a few characters who are having some issues. We have our main character who, ever since she was 7 years old, has been reliving people's last moments. So, needless to say, she's a little traumatized. She's got some depression. She has some isolation issues. She doesn't let people get close to her because she's scared she's going to see their last moments, etc. She's got a lot of issues going on. None of them have been addressed. Her mother and sister are fully aware of her ability, but it's not talked about. It's not discussed. She doesn't tell anybody else. She has a whole lot of insecurity with it. She feels like a freak. So she's got a lot of issues going on. Then we have her sister, who ever since they were 7 years old, and her sister's first vision being that she saw their father's last moments and then told her all about it. She has then been selectively mute since then. She hardly ever talks. She's very traumatized. I can understand that. And then we have our third character that I met in this 30%, who is our male romance lead, and he has some self-harm issues as well as depression and guilt. He blames himself for his mother's death. He was abused physically and verbally as a child by his father, so he's got some issues. Again, totally fine with these three characters having problems, totally understand why they're having these mental health problems, but what continues to happen is what I'm not okay with. We have the sister. We will start with her because she is the easiest to get through real quick, who is selectively mute. Again, like I said, totally understand why she is like this, but we have yet, again, I was only 30% in, but from the reviews that I have read on this, it doesn't seem like it's ever going to be really discussed. There is nobody who is trying to help her get through this. There's nobody trying to connect with her and let her know that she's in a safe environment to express how she feels. There's no therapist in her life. There is no person in her life that she can depend on. So people are just accepting that this is the way she is now instead of helping her. Not okay with that. And our main character has a problem with her being selectively mute. She doesn't like it and finds it annoying. Since this entire book is on her point of view, it is constantly dismissed and put aside, and we never get anywhere deeper with that sister. So I was right off the bat not okay with it because I'm like, okay, but what's going on with your sister? Now let's get into our main character and our romance. Like I've said, both of these characters are having some mental health issues, which again is totally fine, but neither one of them is really addressing them. They are aware of these issues, but they do not want help. They're not seeking help. They have no therapist in their life. They have nothing going on in order to help them, which is what I was not okay with, because there was no mention of how to get help or how, I understand that you can't just snap your fingers and these problems be solved. There's no wishful thinking that can solve these sort of problems, but it should have been addressed as, I'm here for you and we're gonna get through this, and not so much just like, it is what it is, I'll just accept it. When it comes to the romance of this is where I had to stop and DNF this book. So like I said, our male does have some self-harm issues, and it starts to become unhealthy romance-wise. At this point, our characters only have a crush on each other, but it has gotten to the point where he has decided to self-harm in a place that he knows where she is in hopes that she will find him. Now, that's a huge cry for help, and I had a problem with it just because I'm like, that's super unhealthy. Like, he admitted, our main character confronts him about it, and he admitted in the back of his head that's kind of what he was doing, was hoping that she would see him and find him, which I'm like, not healthy, red flag. But if that was all it was, I would have been okay. But what continues to then unfurl is he starts to place some blame for his self-harm on our main character, and she even says, I should be worried at this point, but he is just as damaged as I am, and I like that, and it intrigues me, so I like him more for it instead of being worried for him. That is a super unhealthy relationship. And when at one point he self-harms again, which all our characters have done, is our main character has asked him to promise that he won't cut himself again. That's not a good strategy. That's not going to work, and it doesn't work. And he does do it again. Our main character confronts him, and he basically says that the reason he did it was that he was scared to lose her, and he was hoping that she could be his fresh start. This is a very, very unhealthy relationship trope. Neither one of these characters are in a place where they should be in a relationship. Neither one of them is in a place where they are healthy enough to understand their feelings and what is going on, and both of these characters need some serious help, and this book does not address that whatsoever. I know that I was only 30% in and stopped because of that, because I just, when I got to that point, I was like, enough. I cannot continue to read something like this. This is not a good representation for young adults. Honestly, remember all those books that had very unhealthy relationships, like my personal favorite, honestly my favorite, Twilight, or the Hush Hush series by Becca Fitzpatrick, or any other of those older YA books that had some pretty unhealthy relationships, like, Beauty and the Beast, Stockholm Syndrome. those older stories that had problematic relationships that we just ignored. This feels like this book was written back then when those relationships were just accepted, and I don't think today that that is a relationship that we should be putting out there, because now we are moving forward trying to show healthy relationships. Again, like I said earlier about conversion, if the author was showing an unhealthy relationship to then challenge it later, it would be fine, but I didn't feel like she was going to be challenging it at all, so that is why I stopped. Now, I have read some reviews on it. Turns out, no, it is not challenged at all. It only gets worse as the story goes on. And majority of the people who read this book said I had a huge problem with the mental health representation. They did not offer any kind of help for these characters. They just took it as that's just how things are, and the romance is a very, very unhealthy romance. So people who have read it all the way through said that those problems continue to go on. So I'm very, very happy that I did stop and not complete the book, because I'd be very, very upset. I'm already upset with the 30% I did read. So I'm very, very glad I didn't read the entire thing. But what else I did find out was, remember when I said a while ago when I first started reading it that our characters are supposed to be 17, but yet they act more like 14? Okay, I have figured out why. So apparently, this book was written when the author, who is now an adult, she wrote this when she was 14. So it makes total sense of why these 17-year-olds act like 14-year-olds, because it was indeed written by a 14-year-old. That makes so much more sense on why these characters are not fully developed, why they have super juvenile reactions and fights, and that explains everything. Now, keeping that in mind, this book was written by a 14-year-old, fine. However, this author is now an adult, and I just have such a huge problem that the author wouldn't have gone back and revised this. Now, the author has responded to quite a few of the negative Goodreads reviews, trying to explain why things are the way they are, and somebody did bring up that they found this to be very juvenile and that they knew ahead of time that the author was 14 when she wrote this. So even though they had that fact in mind, they also said, as an adult though, and it being published now, you should have went back and revised it. And what the author has responded back to that was, this was going to be published a while ago and that fell through, and now it is being published with this new company, and myself and my publishers and editors felt like it was still a usable and good enough copy in order to be published. What? I'm sorry, but I have such a big problem now, not so much with this author, because I understand that this is her piece of work, her piece of art, her baby. I get why she would feel like it's perfect and it doesn't need to be revised. I was a genius at 14. It's a piece of art. We're not touching it. I get that. So I'm not even placing blame on her anymore. What my problem is now that I've learned that fact, I have a huge problem with this publishing company. I have a huge problem with this publicist and editor. Are you guys kidding me? You guys are going to take this book that has so many problems. We have giant holes within the plot. We have this character who is like basically turning into a vigilante and hunting down this person. We have super unhealthy representations of mental illness. We have super unhealthy representations of a romance. And we have this stereotypical bisexual character. And for you as a publishing company to basically say, we feel it's good enough as well, even though you wrote this many years ago as a 14-year-old child, we feel it's good enough to publish. This honestly just feels like something to make money at this point, and I'm so against that. Books should not be out there in order to further someone's career. Books should not be out there in order to make money or to make an image or some kind of anything. Books should be out there for enjoyment. Books should be out there to enlighten, to inspire. I'm so upset, you guys. Like, I cannot believe that that is what is going on, and just shame on them, honestly. Shame on them. So needless to say, this was a DNF. I'm very upset right now, and I'm kind of considering just like boycotting this publishing company. I honestly don't even know who it is. Let's find out. So apparently this book is being published by Charles Port Fringe. I personally have not heard of this publishing company, so I don't think it will be too traumatic of me to boycott this publishing company. But while finding that out, I did see that the publishing date is February 14th, which is in 3 days. So I honestly don't think that these edits are going to be happening. They're not going to see my review in time in order to do anything about it. Maybe enough people have complained already because they all had the exact same problems I did. So maybe there is some hope that these things have been fixed. I don't know. But guys, this is really bad. Honestly, do not waste your time. Do not pick up this book. Definitely do not spend a penny on this book. I'm very, very upset. Yeah. All right, enough. We have got to stop talking about this book because it gets me way too worked up. And just knowing that fact that the publishing company is like totally aware of what is happening and is like totally fine. I just can't even. Again, I'm not placing so much of the blame anymore on the author because I understand that she would feel that this book is perfect. So all of my anger is now directed at this publishing company, the editor, the publicist, because how can you guys let something like that go out? The premise of this book sounded amazing, you guys. I was so excited to read this book. And for them to just be like, it's good enough. Throw it out there, see what happens. Like, that's just so messed up. It's so messed up. So guys, that is everything that I have for you. I hope this wasn't too long. I hope you guys excuse my rant and understand where I'm coming from on how to experience stuff for beginners. It was just so bad. But all right, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that if you did, that you will give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of my videos, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified as soon as they go up, go ahead and also click the notification bell. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!